saying it's the women's fault, and I'm going to die on that hill, right?
Oh, you're going to die on
No,
that
I'm
hill?
going to die on that hill. I'm not changing my mind. It is
Okay. I feel like things are getting better now, but look, even think about back in the day when we were in school.
Yeah, there was
It was like
stigma.
absolutely bad man don't bow.
So you've been faking it the whole time? The whole time?
Yeah. But babe, it's not like I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoy. I enjoy sex with you. Cool. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. You're through to another episode of Love Lay Bare, and I'm of course your host Dionne. So today we are going to be talking about the orgasm gap. As you know, Love Lay Bare is committed to talking about all things mental health and wellness. So the reason for today's topic is because I don't know if you guys remember, back in April, DJ Envy and his wife basically came out and said that, you know, his wife had struggled to have an orgasm for the first 10 years of their relationship. You know, the internet went completely wild, and, you know, there was a lot of kind of, you know, not so very nice comments, essentially. And I think that this is definitely a conversation that needs to be had, because there's clearly an orgasm gap between men and women. So I'm just going to give you guys a few stats. The latest study, which was done in 2020, the biggest sample, because they did a review of some studies. So the biggest sample they did was about 50,000 people based in the US. And it said 95% of men usually orgasm and 65% of women usually orgasm. Now that's quite a big 30%. There have been some other studies that have said, you know, it's more around, you know, 40% for men, 40% for women, and, you know, up in the 90s for men. So the figures kind of vary depending on the sample size. And also you've got to take into account that these are qualitative results. So it also depends on people actually being honest. Another interesting aspect of this is that 95% of women have stated that they can orgasm most of the time if they are self-pleasuring. So what are we saying here? Is it the man's fault or is it not the man's fault? So I'd like to introduce my guest. His name is Kieron. He joined us last year. So Kieron.
This is going to be a good one. Hi.
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 So welcome back to Love Lay Bare. How are you doing?
I'm all right, you know. Yeah, all things considered.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Good. So, what are your thoughts on the orgasm gap? I think following that kind of revelation from DJ Envy and his wife, there was another American influencer called B. Simone.
Yeah.
She is in her early 30s. She also came out on Twitter to say that she had only orgasmed for the first time last month, and she'd been celibate for 10 months.
She's how old?
She's 30.
And she did it for the first time?
Yes.
Okay, as a 30-year-old woman.
As a 30-year-old woman. So naturally, the comments were quite wild. I'll post some up so you guys can see on screen. A lot of people were kind of saying things like, oh, her box is trash, or, you know, it's her fault and she should be doing better, and yada, yada, yada. So what are your thoughts on the orgasm gap?
I think it's crazy it's even got a name. I don't understand how this is a thing.
Well,
sorry, not to cut you. I get how it's a thing, but I don't. So there are adult women that are in relationships with men.
Yes.
Who are having sex with the men.
Yes.
The men are having an orgasm.
Yes, 95% of the time.
95% of the men in this study are having orgasms.
Yes.
And 65% of the women aren't.
Yes.
And these are women in relationships.
These are women in...
Wow, that's crazy. That's
who are married.
That's mad.
In long-term relationships or dating, yeah.
Doesn't make it so... Whose fault is that?
Well, this is what we're going to discuss.
Because I feel like I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and people are going to be like, no, you can't say that. But it's definitely the woman's fault. And I'll tell you why it's the woman's fault. Why would you stay in something like that? All right, let me go back to the beginning. If you're a teenager, you're in your early teens, you're probably not going to have fantastic sex. or even good sex because you're still learning, right? You hit 30, 35, you kind of know yourself, male and female. You know what you like, you know what you don't like. And then you enter into, you might get married, you're in a relationship long term.
Yeah.
For most people, sex is important. So I don't understand why you would stay in that
If
you're not
satisfied.
It's mad. It's like going out to eat. We go out for food. I sit down and eat. You're hungry, but you're not going to eat. And then you're going to be happy with that. We're going to leave and go home. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I did some research into it, there are a few factors that we need to take into account. So one of the first kind of being is that, you know, there are kind of like sociocultural aspects to it. So I think, you know, traditionally, women have not really been raised to be sexual. You know, there's a lot of women have been taught that, you know, and, you know, even down like subconsciously, women have been taught that, you know, sex is almost dirty. There's a lot of shame and guilt attached to that. Even the same study basically said that men are very kind of masculine, which they should be in their approach to sex, and therefore the way they may be delivering is not beneficial to the woman, because as far as what they know, and so they're taught, it's more of a kind of thrusting type of situation. When in actual fact, if 95% of women are saying that they can orgasm by themselves, then surely something is going amiss here.
You're supposed to, you communicate with your partner, no? If I'm doing something that is not doing it for you, but you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
Is it not for you to tell me so I can adjust my approach and be like, you know what? Because I have to, in order for me, I'm not speaking for every man, but in order for me to enjoy it, you need to enjoy it. So if you're not, and you're having to fake it and stuff, then, because I'm assuming that these people in the study are faking it.
Yes.
Right. Which is a whole, that to me is wild. That's even wild.
I mean, the thing is, I agree. I do think it's wild. However, you know, what a lot of feedback I've got, and even down to the studies that I've looked into, have all kind of said that women are very mindful about the male ego. So they don't want to let their partner know that actually, because the thing is, they could be having sex and still enjoying it, but they're just not getting to the point of climax.
That's a problem.
Of course it is, and this is why we're talking about it. Because at the end of the day, there are so many benefits to, like, for the body. You know, it's an immune system booster. It's good for your skin. You know, there's so many things that orgasms are good for, and hence why I'm talking about it, because for me, it's a very important part of your wellness. You know, it improves your mood, it improves your sleep, it actually improves your fertility rate as well. So this is why we're talking about it. But the thing is, okay, so for you,
right?
Do you think it's likely that a woman may have faked it with you?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So do you think that you weren't performing?
100%. When I was younger, 100%.
Okay, so not into adult.
I would like to think not since I hit 34, 33.
So what changed?
I know what I'm doing. That's going to come out wild. That's going to sound...
No, but it is what it is.
You learn. You pass your driving test. You're not a great driver. You drive. Eventually, you're fantastic. You can do everything.
Yeah.
Not to say that I can do everything, but the analogy is still, I've gotten older.
Right.
And I know what I'm doing. Plus, you can kind of... I'd like to think you can tell. You know. Okay. If you care and you're actually trying to really engage with the person, you know if they're having you can tell if they're having an orgasm.
But can you though?
You can tell.
Okay. So another point that kind of came out of this study is that women can fake a lot of things quite well.
Right.
I was looking at this sex educator's Instagram the other day. I'll put her up on the screen. And what she was saying is that, for example, female ejaculation and wetness does not mean that a woman has actually climaxed.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Right. So even if you're experiencing all of those things, even if you're feeling her quint.
Yes.
I don't know what other way to say that, but I only know the word quint. So even if she's quinting,
right,
she can still put that on. Now, to me, I feel like that's a lot of effort.
That's a lot of acting to be doing to stop my fragile male ego from thinking like, oh my God, I didn't. There's some things that you can't fake everything at the same time.
I think you could.
You reckon?
But I think the point is that there are women that are doing this all of the time.
But they're the ones that need to stop, because you're making it difficult. So you're with someone, you're having to lie to him. As far as he's concerned, he's the man, right? Mm-hmm. You got break up. He's now on to the next woman, convinced he is
the man.
Right. Mm-hmm. He's doing the same things that weren't doing it for the previous person.
Right.
This new woman isn't telling him it's not working. Mm-hmm. She now goes off, it breaks. He's now just walking around giving out bad sex, right? So at what point do the women say, right, do you know what? This, and there's ways of saying it. You don't have to be, if you're with someone, you know what to say and what not to say in order for them to A, be receptive, or B, shut down and be like, and get in that ignorant male energy. You know.
So, right, okay, cool. So you as a man then, how would you want a woman to tell you, bearing in mind, let's say you've been 10 years deep in something, right? She pops out like DJ Envy's wife did and said, do you know what, I've never had an orgasm.
That would break me.
Right?
That would break me. 10 years.
Yeah.
That would break me. That would break me because it's 10 years. Yeah, that's mad.
It is mad. But obviously, and the thing is that the reason why I'm using them as an example is because, you know, this platform is for the grown-ups, you know, 30, 35 plus, what have you. And like I say, there are women who may be in their 50s and 60s who still haven't orgasmed to date.
But do you know what as well? I feel like, as much as I'm saying it's the women's fault, and I'm going to die on that hill, right?
Oh, you're going to die on that hill?
I'm going to die on that hill. I'm not changing my mind. It is
okay.
If you are, and I'm going to say this to say something else after, if you are a woman who is happy in your situation, even though you're having to do Oscar performances every single time you sleep with your man, that's your fault, right? But there are some women who sex isn't important to them like that.
Yes, that's true too.
So that's the other side of the coin, and I get that. So if the guy is providing and he's doing whatever and he's a good father, he's a good thing, and they've got a house and it doesn't matter. So in that 65%, some of those women will be women that, you know what, it doesn't really matter to me. Like they're in it because
there are other factors that outweigh that.
And plus it's more, they'll be the old fashioned ones that will be like, you know what, it's almost my duty to do this.
Yeah.
So it's not really about me. It's like a selfless act. It's not really about me. But I feel like the way the world is now, those women have to be a minority, because the way women are empowered with everything else, right? A woman, and it's bad because there's all these different gaps. There's the orgasm gap. There's the pay gap. Just they're so vocal on everything. You're so vocal on everything else. Not you personally, but women are so vocal on everything else, regardless of whether or not it hurts the male ego. Yeah. Why would you stay quiet with this one?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. But so obviously there is a big issue as to why women are still not saying, and that's what we kind of need to explore. So some of the factors for me, just in terms of just common sense, right? And in some respects, I do agree with you in that if as a woman you are not, if you're in a position where you are not having regular orgasms, there isn't anything, you know, you've been to your GP, there's nothing physically, biologically wrong with you. You know, there can be instances of, for example, women who've experienced sexual trauma.
Yeah.
right? So that can have an effect on how your body kind of reacts to sex and stuff like that. Aside from those two things, I feel like it is then, I mean, with regards to sexual trauma, there are also things that you can do about that, but you have to be intentional to kind of get that area of your life, healed if you do want to have a fruitful experience when it 100%. Comes to sex. But, being empathetic to those two other situations, aside from that, I do believe that it is a woman's responsibility to know her body, to know what she enjoys, and to also have the confidence to speak up if she isn't being pleasured by her long-term partner as she would like to. I think another statistic I saw was that women are less likely to orgasm if they're having kind of frequent sexual encounters with different people. So one-night stands, stuff like that. Yeah. Because, again,
you can't get in the rhythm with the person.
You can't get in the rhythm. They don't know you personally. They don't know what you like and stuff like that.
For the most part.
Well, yeah, they don't.
You're having one-night stands, no one cares.
Yeah.
Whether you get off or not.
Yeah. But another thing they did also say was that same-sex female couples orgasm at a much higher rate than they do to women to men. So, again, can we, just playing devil's advocate here, can we shift the onus back onto men, do you think?
No, still can't.
We still can't?
Two women, right? It's common sense that two women will orgasm if they're in a relationship together.
Why is it common sense?
Because a woman knows a woman's body.
So you're saying a man doesn't?
And plus, women speak... No, some men don't.
Yeah.
Some men don't. And you know what? Not even some men don't. Some men don't care.
Yeah.
So if you're with a man that doesn't care, again, that's on you. Because you don't have to stay there. Right? If it's a thing, if you're sitting down with your... And there are women that will listen to this and be like, you know what? I just had this conversation with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
If you're going to have sex with your man on Saturday and then go and do brunch or something in the week and sit down with you, and women do it because men do it, everyone's talking about their relationships and what's happening and boom, boom, boom. And if you're all saying the same thing and you're all unhappy about it when you're together, if you then don't take that and say, you know what, let me go and... There's subtle things you can do. You can say, let's try this, or you don't have to be like, I don't like that. You can coax when things are happening, or put your hand somewhere, or whatever. There are ways of doing it. I don't want to get too crass, but there's ways of doing it. If you know all this as a big adult woman, and you still do not say anything, then it has to be your fault, because you are putting up with... life is too short for you to be having rubbish sex.
Absolutely, I'm totally with you.
For any male, female, anybody. If you're from your... We're on not borrowed time, but from you hit 35, 40, you've got a limited run left, right? So you've got a limited run left. In that limited run, you need to be enjoying every single moment.
Absolutely.
So if you cannot do that with the person you're with, and you don't feel like you can talk to that person about it without them being ignorant, then it's long. Because if a woman's with a man and she does something and the man doesn't like it sexually, we say.
Do
100%. We say.
Do you always say?
We say, and it might come out a bit crass sometimes, but it's like, you know what? Didn't really like that, or the teeth, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? We'll say it, and sometimes it's blunt, or we'll just stop you point blank from doing something and be like, no. Right? If that happens, that happens once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, you start getting the message like, maybe I'm doing something wrong, he doesn't like this. Or...
But I think, but I think the thing is that it's not like women aren't enjoying the sex, because they could be enjoying it, but they're just not reaching the point of climax. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So I guess if you've got into a routine of never having one, you don't know what you've missed if you've not had it.
But they have it, because they have it with the toys, or the rose, or whatever else. They have it. They have it. So they have it. So you know what it feels like. So the real thing is, the real question in that thing should have been, who's not climaxing with their partner, but is climaxing with toys.
Well, yeah, and the statistic was 95%.
So that should have right. So that should have been that's the real thing, because there might be women that they don't care if they're climaxing with their boyfriend, because when he leaves, the rose is coming out.
Why the rose in particular?
Because I've heard that's mad. I've heard that's mad. The rose is messing up the economy for a lot of dudes right now, right? So that's maybe that's the real. We need to open it up and say, right, so is this why people are not? Is this why people are staying, because they don't need to climax with the boyfriend? Or the husband?
No, it's not, because the thing is, the conversation about the orgasm gap has been going on for decades. Yeah. You know, pre toys. But going back to your point, when I said to you, I said, putting yourself in the position of, for example, DJ Envy, where his wife has come out after 10 years, you were like, I would be devastated. Right. So if your woman loves you, she loves you, you take care of everything that you need to do, she doesn't want to shatter your self-esteem by saying to you, do you know what? This isn't happening for me.
Right.
And therefore, I love you so much. Right. I just want to keep you happy.
Right.
So I'm just not going to say anything, because you know what? I am willing to be a martyr in this situation and die on this hill. And it's not like I'm not enjoying it. I love the intimacy, but I am just not orgasming. So
I think I'm not buying it still. In that 10 years, you haven't told me that. So you're dying for the cause with that. But I guarantee in that 10 years, you've told me numerous things that have made me feel away. Right? I come in with I've got a top on, or I cut my hair different, but I don't like it. Don't really like the beard. I shave my beard. I like it.
Okay,
but maybe you should dye your hair. Maybe you should.
But were you devastated?
I'd be not devastated, but it still goes to, I don't want to damage the male fragile ego. Sometimes we're so fragile in what we can accept and what not. Any little thing can damage it, right? So it doesn't. So in 10 years, you're chipping away. So you've chipped away it anyway, right? With everything else. So I'm still here.
Okay.
So you can say, do you know what, babe? This is it's not really, or not even. This isn't. I really enjoy it, but you know what? If we can get here, it's going to be different. Now it's a challenge. Men love a challenge.
Men do love a challenge, right? but do men not also get a bit complacent when it comes to bedroom activities? Because again, if he thinks that everything he's doing is working and she's putting on an Oscar-winning performance, like you said, you would be devastated. Like, that's a humongous blow to the ego. So therefore, that could potentially rock everything.
Yeah, because you've been lying to me for how long? So now I'm questioning my skill set.
Exactly. So do you see now why
that's not my fault?
I hear you.
And this is why it still goes back to it being. The onus has to be on the woman to take command of her orgasm and say, right, listen, this is what I want, right? And I want you to get there with me, and I want you to be the reason I get there. So this is what we're going to do. A, B, C. Boom.
So another thing in the study that they mentioned was that a lot in terms of like a cultural perspective, they were saying that a lot of cultures, a lot of men won't provide oral, and a lot of women would benefit highly if they were given oral sex by their partner, because I think it was literally something like
that would be high.
Only 18% of women would orgasm through penetrative sex alone, right? So there needs to be a lot of like clitoral stimulation. Now, if you have a partner who is not willing to do that, I feel like things are getting better now. But look, even think about back in the day when we were in school.
Yeah, there was
it was like absolutely bad man don't bow.
Ostracized.
Well, do you know what I mean?
But then a lot of the people that were saying that were doing it anyway. But
well, there you go. But do you know what I mean? It was even in dancehall music, all that kind of stuff. It was very much a taboo thing to do. So fast forward 20 odd years now, everyone is pretty much doing what they're doing, but there are still a lot of men that are not prepared.
You said that a lot of people our age still carry the emotional PTSD of hearing those songs. So no, but it's true. So a lot of guys our age, point blank refuse to do it.
Yeah, they do.
And I get that, but then if this is important for you, don't settle for it. It still always has to come back to that. Because
I hear you. But
there are women that can orgasm through penetrative sex. There's women that will orgasm way before it even gets to that point. If between the two of them, they know and they care enough to really work out each other's movements and each other's things and the rhythm and everything's there. But that comes if you're both invested in the pleasure of the other person. But then that's what I'm saying. But if you're not, then there's got to be a fallout in other things. If I don't care enough to make sure every single time we sleep together that you are having as good a time as I am, then I probably don't care in other aspects too. But because those little bits might be smaller, or I might be out, I might go to a bar, get myself a drink, come back with no drink for you. But you skim over it.
Yeah, but that's just a disrespect.
Yeah, but it bleeds into it's a need, right? If I have sex, I want to orgasm. That's the male thing. I want to ejaculate. I want to thing.
I don't think it's a male thing. I think that's
it should be a universal thing. But clearly it's not. But I have to care enough for you to get there too.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And this is what I'm saying. If you're telling me after 10 years
I've not
that
got
you've
there.
I have to question myself now. How many counters is that in 10 years? They've had kids.
700.
They've got kids.
What was the number in Waiting to Excel? 732.
730. Imagine you sleep with someone 732 times, and you never have an orgasm. But every single time you sleep with that man, he's having one. So you've been faking it the whole time. The whole time.
But babe, it's not like I didn't enjoy it. I really enjoy. I enjoy sex with you. The female orgasm is limitless. A woman can orgasm. It isn't, but it's like cannot do.
Those things have all different kind of arms.
You see what I mean? Arms.
Kinds of. See, 732 times you've had sex, and you've never orgasmed. This is why people have affairs, right?